Hi, Glenn Phillips here with Lake Homes Realty and lakehomes.com. So, if you're thinking about buying a lake home, you need to understand how lake home sellers are different. Because it's not, if you've never bought a lake home, how you're engaging with that seller will be very different than if you've bought other homes, maybe as your primary resident. So, how are they different, and how is this going to help you when you're trying to find your dream lake home across the country? First off is recognize the demographic. Lake home sellers as a group are an older population. One of the reasons it makes them older is that lake home buyers tend to be older. We don't have a lot of 20-something first-year home buyers buying lake homes. So it's an older buyer and an older seller as a group. In many cases, the lake home sellers have stayed in homes where either the family doesn't come as much, life has changed, or maybe they've even gotten old enough that it's not an enjoyable activity, they're not physically as capable to take care of the lake home, and so this can be a much older demographic. Another thing is interesting is they're a bit economy blind. You know, we see these things right now about, interest rates and such. The lake home seller probably paid cash for their lake home, and if they didn't, they still could afford to spend the discretionary money to buy a home that costs more than a home off the lake. So they're not as worried. You say, I'm going to come with you with a cash offer. Well, at the lake, that's pretty common. And two, heck, when you're selling a home, you get cash whether it's from the mortgage company or the buyer. The only way cash makes a big difference to this group is that it removes some risk that a loan doesn't get funded. And that can be solved with other mechanisms. But don't presume because the economy is up or down that they're going to be in a bind to sell. Are there exceptions? Of course. But as a group, they're pretty economically blind. So good times, bad times aren't going to affect them too much when they're selling. The next is what I call lack necessity. This is a discretionary purchase. It may be a second home. They didn't have to buy this home and they don't have to sell this home. Are there exceptions where somebody gets in an economic bind and they need cash? Yes. Very uncommon at the lake. In fact, there are very few foreclosures at the lake because there are very few mortgages, and most of these buyers who did get a mortgage, they don't get underwater. They can afford to sell that home. So they can wait, and which leads me to my fourth point when you're dealing with a lake home seller that makes them different, is they're patient. They don't have to sell, really, literally. They may decide, if I get the price I want, which may be some crazy number, then they'll sell. That leads to them putting homes on the market that are way overpriced, that are not going to sell for that price, and they generally aren't that worried about it. They're sometimes way too patient. Sometimes it just takes time and life catches up, and it's more about life than it is about the price of the home when they finally say, okay, I'm ready to be done with it. But if you're looking to buy a lake home, you need to understand the seller, their mentality, their motivation is going to be very different than buying other types of primary resident real estate. And I hope this is helpful. If you have any more questions, we have lake real estate agents who work in this demographic all the time, both helping people sell their lake home and buy their lake home. Our agents on our website, lakehomes.com, are lake-focused agents who understand the buyers and sellers in this market, who'll be glad with no rush or obligation to help you understand and when you're doing your search to find that dream lake home across the country. Also, be sure and visit us at lakehomes.com, where we have tens of thousands of lake homes for sale right now and more coming every day. We also have lots of tips and other videos, so be sure and visit us, and I hope you have a great day. Thank you. For more information, be sure to check out lakehomes.com.